I'm the 5-Minute Professor, and today's lesson is on caffeine, and I love caffeine. Now, before we get into this, I'm going to talk a little bit about how it affects your body, and I want you to understand my medical training is slightly limited to having watched House and MASH and Quincy, M.E. But that having been said, caffeine increases your blood pressure. It increases your heart rate. And a lot of people, if you get too much of it, it makes you sweat. But it is also a central nervous system stimulant. It is the world's most widely consumed psychoactive substance, and it is a mild diuretic, meaning that it will dehydrate you. It'll make you pee. Mildly. Not enough to lower your blood pressure, which is what some blood pressure medicines do. But in plants, it's a natural pesticide. The idea of caffeine in plants is to keep insects from eating the plant. So the reason it exists is because it affects insects. And in fact, do a search on YouTube when you're done here about the effects of caffeine on a spider web, because caffeine messes up a spider web. So I love coffee. And technically, the only place you can get caffeine, that chemical, is coffee. Because the chemical itself, the actual identifier of caffeine, is only available in the coffee plant. But there are very similar chemicals which your body can probably not tell the difference of in tea and in yerba mate and in chocolate. Very similar, just not exactly the same. And the highest levels are in coffee, without any question. The highest levels are in coffee. There's about 150 milligrams of caffeine in one medium roast cup of coffee. But here's something that's unusual about coffee. The darker the roast, the French roast, I love a French roast, I love an Italian roast, I love an espresso roast, I love espresso. The darker the roast, the less caffeine. You actually cook some of the caffeine out of the coffee. The lighter roast, like a breakfast roast, which is either a light or a medium light roast, has the most caffeine. So that taste which you associate with coffee, and which I love, that's the taste of roast, not the taste of coffee. Coffee has a much more bitter taste, and that bitterness comes from the caffeine. Yerba mate, which is a South American plant, comes in second in terms of the total amount of caffeine in the plant in a normal serving. But yerba mate is kind of unusual in the way that it's shared communally, and they keep adding water without adding more leaves, which dilutes the caffeine effect. It's actually called matine in yerba mate. So there's about 60 milligrams per serving in yerba mate, 150 milligrams in coffee, 60 in yerba mate. There's slightly more in one Excedrin gel tab because, once again, my medical training here, on purpose, there is caffeine added to Excedrin because there is supposed to be a connection between how aspirin and acetaminophen is absorbed into the system and caffeine. It's supposed to happen faster with caffeine present. So if you have a headache in the morning, it may not be a bad idea to have it with your cup of coffee. Black tea, which is the darkest of the teas, has about 50 milligrams per 6-ounce cup. And serving sizes on tea are different than serving sizes on coffee, than serving sizes on yerba mate. They're all different serving sizes. But a 6-ounce cup of black tea has about 50 milligrams of caffeine in it. And darker tea has more caffeine than lighter teas, your green teas and your white teas. And that's actually because the caffeine's in the leaf, and there are more leaves because they're dried, so each spoonful has more leaves in it in black teas than there are in green teas and white teas. If you made your tea stronger, you'd get more caffeine. A 12-ounce serving of Jolt Cola has about 150 milligrams of caffeine, like a cup of coffee. Red Bull has about 80, Mountain Dew 54. Coca-Cola only has about 30 milligrams of caffeine, but it's got all that sugar. So doesn't Mountain Dew, so doesn't Jolt, so doesn't Red Bull. Milk chocolate has very little caffeine, less than a cup of decaf coffee worth in every candy bar, but Darker chocolate has a higher concentration of chocolate in it, so there's going to be more caffeine, but it still isn't much. If you want to avoid caffeine, look for these things. Look for herbal teas. Look for fruit teas. Look for floral teas, like a lavender tea. It's not bad if you like that sort of thing. Or look for red tea. It's actually South African. It's rooibos. That's going to be another lecture a little bit further down the road. Look for that. It's from South Africa. It's called red tea, and it is made from a plant which kind of looks like tea, but is a little bit better. I'll be honest. Perceptum, quispium, damnatium. Learn something, damn it.